And we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I have Logan with me. Logan, how you doing?
Doing good, Jamie. Doing good. How about you, man?
It's been a good week. My illness is finally fading, kind of. So it's been a while. But other than that, it's been a packed week for gaming news. You know, it's a kind of a monumental event when a new GTA gets revealed. And, I may talk about Mass Effect every other day. But GTA, I love GTA. But I was sick of Los Santos. I can't see that map at all anymore. I'm done with it. I was bored with that map in 2015, but we'll be talking about that later. Before we get into the ridiculous amount of topics we have today, have you been playing anything interesting this past week?
Yeah, I wrapped up the Proteus campaign. Loved it. Really awesome Doom Eternal dash Doom 2016 retrofied boomer shooter type game. They have a crazy new expansion that'll be coming out sometime soon. They were kind of vague on when it comes out. But basically, you'll be going to this like golden dimension and you'll be flying around with like a grappling hook and stuff like Doom Eternal. Looks really awesome. And just beat that, and I started at Midnight Suns. And I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a kind of XCOM, but card based Marvel take on, the darker things in the night and, vampires and gothic and the undead and underworld and mixed with Marvel characters and some medieval stuff, and it's super fascinating based on kind of a under the radar 90s series from Marvel Comics. So been really enjoying it.
Well, I have to say it's been a busy week for me when it comes to gaming because I've finished a bunch of stuff. And when it comes to me, uh, it takes me forever to finish games. Just for some reason, I tend to play a bunch at the same time, and to get through games, it just takes me a while. So, I finally finished Assassin's Creed Mirage. Incredible game. Really good game. I think it's a great starting off point for newcomers to the franchise because there's not really any links to like previous or like probably future games. That said, it's a great game. I know people will say it was originally meant to be a Valhalla expansion, but after playing it, like that was too big of a game to be sold as an expansion, and it was too small for them to sell it for $70. That's why it was like 40 or 50, whatever it was. But it was a fantastic game. The gameplay is the best part of Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like, it is the best in the entire franchise. Is it perfect? No. There's things that if they add two different things to the gameplay, it would be possibly the best Assassin's Creed game ever made. And that would be wall ejects when you jump back from a wall you're climbing on and jumping sideways from a wall. Outside of that, the gameplay is perfect. You have different gadgets in the game. You have a sleep dart. You have throwing knives. Throwing knives is the best thing in an Assassin's Creed game, something of which I never thought I'd say in a million years. Throwing knives is genuinely fun in that game because the physics-based, like you have to arc them through the air, really cool stuff. There's smoke bombs, there's traps, but incredible game. Really good. I think more people need to play it. Did you pick that up yet at all?
I have not picked up Mirage yet.
It's a great game. It really is, and it's keep popping up in like sales recently. But such a fun game, and that was the studio's first game. Ubisoft Bordeaux, their very first Assassin's Creed game, and they made that. Putting this out there, they're going to be Ubisoft's best studio in the next 5 years. Like they really know what they're doing, and like I've put it like this: like I've been a huge Assassin's Creed fan since 2007, and there's been times I've been put off the franchise and I've came back, but for the past 2 years, I've been kind of done with Assassin's Creed. Valhalla really, it really didn't like go with me that well. I thought that game was too bloated. It was 90 hours long, and it had a bunch of filler, and there was no historical like moments in the game. At least it felt like it. It never ended basically. But Valhalla, bad game. This great game, genuinely great. The other game I finished actually last night was Modern Warfare 3, the campaign. Again, I don't understand why people's been given that like IGN gave it a 4 out of 10. That's ridiculous. I've played many Call of Duty campaigns, and that is not the worst. In fact, I think Call of Duty 3 is the worst campaign I've ever played. Maybe Advanced Warfare, because the story was terrible, but Modern Warfare 3's campaign, it was good, and on last week's show, I was talking about the downsides of the campaign. Well, one of those things I can retract. It does in fact have an AC-130 mission. The second to last mission in the game is an AC-130 mission. In fact, it's the best AC-130 mission in the entire franchise. So when I hear people online say it's the worst Call of Duty game, they're lying. It's not the worst one. It really isn't. And it makes me wonder, like, is this new Call of Duty game just so popular to hate at the minute that people are just making stuff up? Because you can't play that campaign and say it's the worst. Is it the best? No, it is not the best, but it is far from the worst. And remember, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 didn't even have a campaign, and it got a higher score, and it had the worst multiplayer. But other than that, cool campaign. There's some twists in the story. If people only stick to the campaigns for COD like me and they dabble in multiplayer, buy it at a discount at some place. I got it in a bundle. I got the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and Diablo 4 bundle with the Xbox Series X for $3.99. It's a deal I couldn't pass up. So I essentially got 2 games for free, kind of. But yeah, it was a fun game. And we won't be seeing what Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 till 2026, I'm guessing. Because I think with Black Ops next year, they're going to do a 2-year rotation. That's just me. But Modern Warfare 2, I should say Modern Warfare 3 campaign, not the worst. People made that seem like it was like when a game's come out and I get to it a few days later or a week later or something like that, I take in other people's opinions. I think, okay, are they actually right? Do they have any points? And some of the points are right. The open combat missions feel like filler. However, there's 3 of them that are insanely good, like genuinely good. But other than that, the campaign, it was fun. It was short, and it wasn't 3 hours long. I did it in about 6, and I played on hardcore mode. So a little bit of a challenge. Some missions were excruciatingly hard, some of which were actually fairly easy on hardcore. So depending on what your skill issue is or what your skills are like in a Call of Duty game, it can vary. But it took me about 6 hours. And I tried to do all open combat missions 100% stealth. So that's that. And another game I've been playing is Armored Core 6. Wowzer. Logan, have you played that at all yet?
No, I haven't. I kind of like mech games, but they're kind of like hit or miss to me. Like I have to just find one that fits just right. And so I'd kind of been waiting on some more reactions to it before I dived in. Are you enjoying it, man?
Yeah. I have to say, like, over the past 3 months, because it came out about 4 days before Starfield, I've seen it all over the place online. People are saying it's their game of the year, it's a game of the year contender. So, like, even though I covered the game on the channel, I was kind of worried because I haven't played an Armored Core game in a very long time. From Software, they've been busy doing Dark Souls and Elden Ring over the past decade plus. So for them going back into a mech combat game, I was wondering, like, is it going to feel modern? Is it going to play like the old ones? And no, it plays like a modern game. It is genuinely modern game. I'm putting it out there, and I put it on Twitter before. It has the best third-person mech combat I've ever played in a game. There's nothing like it. There's 6 degrees of movement. You can go up, down, left, right, whatever you want, because you have thrusters. There's even a jetpack, and it's incredible. I've never played an Armored Core game or any mech game like that. It's genuinely amazing. With that said, it's kicked my ass a lot. I only started about 1 day ago, 2 days ago, something, and it's challenging. But I think, like, I'm wondering, is it difficult because I haven't played an Armored Core game in over a decade, or is it challenging because it's a From Software game? So it could be either. but the combat is so good. And if people don't mind a challenge, I think people will still enjoy it. Like, if people like more laid back games and they want to just chill, it is not for them. It is definitely a challenging game. The first boss was like this massive air tank, which I struggled a little bit with. It took me 3 tries. And for each mission, you get 3 heals, kind of like a Souls game, but not really. And once you use those heals, you're out. Once you've used all your ammo, you're done. So if you don't like challenging games, don't get it. But with that said, I can totally understand why people are saying this is their game of the year, because we haven't had. I always complain on the channel that we don't get enough sci-fi games, or we don't get enough specifically space combat games. Mech combat games, I think, goes along with that. We don't get many of them. Outside of Titanfall and Mech Warrior 5, I think we just don't get them that often. And this is arguably the best in a long time. So if people want a challenge, get it. Hell of a game. Really, like, I put it like this, like, if people just want a game that's purely just gameplay, like, there is a light story to the game, but outside of that, it's just you doing missions. You get an objective, you do the objective, next mission, and there's some little plot bits in between. There's also a PvP mode. I think it's 1v1 and 3v3. I haven't done that yet because, again, I know I'll get destroyed online. But yeah, great game. Great game. I can't wait to get back to it. And I put it like this. The last boss I beat, I think my neighbours actually heard me shout yes. Because I was so happy the fact that I just beat the boss, which is rare for me. And outside of that, and this is relevant to a lot of people playing, we got some Game Pass shadow drops the other day. Remnant from the Ashes and Remnant 2, completely out of nowhere, out of the blue, and shadow dropped. And I think it shadow dropped at about midnight in the UK. And they are third-person shooters. They are... It's kind of, I want to say, half Gears, half Dark Souls, but with more emphasis on Dark Souls, in a way. It's hard to, like, Logan, did you play either of them yet?
I actually already own the first one and all the expansions. I had downloaded it and had been waiting to jump in. And now that it and the sequel are in Game Pass, it's definitely the perfect time. There's going to be more people online with it. And yeah, I think Gears and Dark Souls is a good combination to describe it. Because it's like a really gritty, dark world, and then like there's all these bosses and exploration and third person, and it's brutally difficult. But you can also squad up or go solo to where, you can kind of tailor the experience to your fancy. But it was a big get for them to get both of them.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of other Embracer games.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was really surprised because Remnant 2, people love that game. So for them to get that and just to shadow drop it at midnight, like, kind of unheard of. But yeah, if people like Gears, like, try it. The third-person shooting combat is excellent, by the way. Like, so good. I briefly played the first game, but I got my ass kicked in a certain part. But I started the sequel, and you don't need to play the first game. But yeah, good game. I think people need to try it. That's the beauty of Game Pass. If you're not sure you're going to like it, you can download it, play it, and if it's not for you, just delete it. But yeah, I think that was hell of a get. The surprising thing is that I saw some pushback online. There were some people online angry that gamers were happy about a shadow drop. That's the world we live in now. People hate the fact that some people are excited about a new game. And those people are just miserable, in my opinion. They do not have any fun at all or any personality. But yeah, Remnant 2, Shadow Drop. Highly recommend people download it. I think it was only 44 gigs or something. It didn't take that long for me to download it. So it couldn't have been that big of a file. But yeah, cool game. And I think it was really cool that we're getting Shadow Drops right before the Game Awards. Like, that was the biggest surprise. Like, why not just wait till the Game Awards? What's coming? And we're going to be talking about the Game Awards stuff in a bit, because apparently there's going to be a lot of stuff there. And This is the one year where Microsoft haven't really said temper your expectations. They've actively said look forward to it in more ways than one. Anyway, we have a crap load of topics. Let's get into them. I'll talk about this quick. The Suicide Squad game alpha. Now, I haven't played it, and if I had played it, I couldn't talk about it. But since I haven't, I can kind of talk about what I've seen online. The amount of people that have broke that NDA is shocking. You sign up to play test a game, it's not in a finished state at all, and like they tell you, like I've done a bunch of game alphas before. You're told, look, this isn't the finished product. I was in the Gears of War 4 alpha. That game looked terrible. And remember, people were reporting on it at IGN, saying the game looked terrible. And then when the game came out, Gears 4 was gorgeous because it was alpha. And people are doing the same thing with Suicide Squad, the game. And Logan, have you seen many people break the alpha like I have?
I haven't seen too much about Suicide Squad to be honest, but speaking of breaking NDAs, we've been seeing a lot of that today.
Yeah.
And this past week in particular, I mean, I don't know, like maybe I'm because I'm just not impulsive in general, but the idea of LOL, let me just leak something or break a contract or break my word on something and just post something for, the giggles online. Get a whole bunch of people arrive, and then you have, black suits and vans show up because you were a moron. This doesn't sound appealing to me. I don't know. Am I crazy here? Does that sound appealing to you?
No, even though we're going to be talking about GTA and some details later in the show, the person that leaked that trailer is in. I can't say on the channel, but Wimes with Tanker. What I don't know what that person was thinking, and this is what occurred to me last night. Clout. It's always about clout, and the thing about clout is nobody ever gets clout for doing something good. Ever, it's always something bad because clout is never associated with anything good. So you have this nerd on a laptop, probably in a basement somewhere, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to leak this trailer the day before it was going to be announced," and it's like, why? Nobody knows online who did it, so you have no infamy. You just known as the asshat that leaked the trailer, the most anticipated game of all time. You leaked it online the day before, for what? Because one, if no one ever knows who did it, that means you did it for nothing. Yet you have no infamy, and the person that did it, if they do get caught, they're going to jail for a very long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like I can't imagine going up against Rockstar's lawyers. You don't want to go up against Microsoft, Nintendo, and definitely not Rockstar. Like Rockstar have bank. Like they have the best lawyers ever. Don't mess with Rockstar. And we're going to be talking about other Rockstar stuff later in the show, obviously with GTA. But yeah, the leak and stuff and the Suicide Squad stuff. I've seen people post clips. Do not post that stuff. It's literally illegal. You sign a non-disclosure agreement for a reason. I've put it like this. I've taken part in alphas I can talk about because the statute of limitations is up. I took part in the Doom alpha, Doom 2016 alpha, and that was incredible. It was for multiplayer. That multiplayer I played never saw the light of day. Things like Fable Legends. I played the closed alpha for that. The visuals, oh my, some of the best. But yeah, people are breaking these NDAs over unreleased games that come out in like a few months. It's ridiculous. Like, just please stop it. For your own good. But anyway, outside of that, I think the gameplay that's been shown looks really good. It looks fun. I don't need all games to have an emotional story. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there because I've seen a lot of people in my feed just genuinely talk about it. Like, don't. No, you can say that you're going to play it, but you can't talk about it. Anyway, Logan, you wanted to talk about the Halo stuff because, again, I don't play multiplayer. So, what's going on with Halo?
Oh yeah, this will just be a brief thing, but there's a big update today, like side tangent, like The GTA, they did that post about, okay, we're going to reveal our trailer on this date. And they had, the fun Miami Horizon, the pink and purple and orange kind of neon-y vibes to it. And then a bunch of other studios started jumping in on the trend to kind of just have fun with it. Announced that they have announcements coming as well. Halo was one of them, which for some reason got some people in their feelings about, for some reason, how dare Halo like have fun with a trend going. I mean, you've got Fall Guys doing it, you've got Pal World doing it, you've got Halo doing it, GTA. I mean, it's not a big deal. These media, social media account managers, they're buds that just have fun with things, and so like people getting on their feelings about that was really dumb. But aside from that, they launched today Firefight and King of the Hill, which add some really long requested modes and features. Firefight, as you know, was originally intended for Halo 3, but then it got cut towards the end and put into Halo 3 ODST. Became a huge fan favorite mode, and they've brought it back now for Halo Infinite. And I'm excited to dive in. I haven't tested it out myself yet, but I probably will tonight. And I'm super stoked. And just again, shout out to the new leadership and team at 343 for putting your heads down, blocking out the noise, getting to work, doing great stuff, and then bringing the heat when you're ready to talk about it. And just kudos to them. They got absolutely snubbed from the Game Awards for Best Ongoing Game or Community Support because, unlike some, they've actually kept their community team and they're actually still working on the game and are positively promoting it.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because we know everyone knows you're talking about Bungie. um, right after the announcement happened for the nominees at the Game Awards, Bungie put out a brand new microtransaction for Destiny 2. It was like for, the new players pack. It was just like a bunch of cosmetics and stuff and like weapons for new players. But like, how the hell did Destiny 2 get nominated but not Halo? Like, Halo's at a state now where people like genuinely love playing it and talking about it. I see positivity in the Halo community. Do you know how bizarre that is? Like, the Halo community's been complaining since we got Sprint, and now I see people genuinely happy about it. But like Destiny, I see people genuinely miserable about the state of Destiny. Destiny content creators have no idea what's going on because like the next update that's coming in 2024 is like June or July. So like we know what's happening with Halo, but Destiny is like nope. Speaking of that stuff, even though we're going to be talking about the awards later in the show, and Jeff Keighley put out the hype trailer for the Game Awards yesterday. It looked like a Sony ad.
Yeah, I like the Star Wars stuff, but other than that, it was very Sony focused.
Yeah, it was very much a Sony thing. There's like clips from the Last of Us TV show. It's like everyone knows Jeff Keighley is a PlayStation centric person, but if you watch that, even though there's a little bit of Starfield in there, it did look like a Sony advert. I did, like you said, the Star Wars stuff was cool, but yeah. You know what? Let's jump into the juicy stuff, and I'm gonna get a bit heated here because I'm so annoyed. So, on N7 Day, we got a brand new Halo 4 teaser. I'm just calling it Halo 4. No, not Halo 4, Mass Effect 4. Don't know what I'm talking about. So we got a brand new Mass Effect 4 teaser, and I've been trying to tell people that this game is coming at the end of the decade. It's probably going to be a next-gen launch window title. Some people don't like hearing that. I would love to be wrong. And people have been telling me, like, Jamie, don't worry. You'll be playing the next Halo game. I keep saying Halo for some reason. You'll be playing the next Mass Effect game in 2026, 2027. Well, anyway, the team that's working on Dragon Age is making Mass Effect. The whole team isn't working on Mass Effect yet. And people have been wondering, like, how far away is Mass Effect if Dragon Age hasn't even been shown yet? Like, we've seen some logos. little bit of music, some concept art, really cool stuff, right? And you may see me talk about and hear me talk about Mass Effect all the time. I don't really talk about Dragon Age much. The Dragon Age community is so annoyed. They don't know what's going on because that game's coming first, and we still don't know what's going on. Well, anyway, there's been rumors for the past 3 months that they're going to be at the Game Awards. And the Dragon Age fan base have been super excited. It's like Christmas Eve. They're about to open up the presents, and they got coal. They put out a statement in a little trailer yesterday, basically saying that Dragon Age Dreadwolf gets its teaser reveal in summer 2024. Now, that's a long way away. Like summer for the reveal. And I can't imagine EA showing off a new Dragon Age game and then selling it in November, October, November. So like, it could potentially be years away still. Meaning Mass Effect literally looks like it's a 2029 game. Heartbroken. people are disappointed. Like Logan, what do you think of that? Because the Dragon Age fan base yesterday pretty much wept.
Yeah, I love Dragon Age. You know me. I'm a huge BioWare guy, going back to
Yeah.
their golden era, Dragon Age, not too old Republic, Jade Empire. All their stuff. They have been a brilliant studio, and their fall from grace was very depressing. And I hope they rebound, but the fact that they keep dragging this out and just drip feeding stuff, and it's like very microscopic stuff that they're putting out there. Like they did a little kind of a scenic tour guide kind of video yesterday where they went across the world of Thetis and showed little brief snippets, kind of like the end of Return of the Jedi, where they're all celebrating the Empire's fallen, and you see Coruscant, Endor, Naboo everywhere. Like they kind of did a brief thing like that, and that's it. And then they're like, oh, we'll see you next summer, and we'll go from there. Yeah, that just doesn't feel great. And then on top of that, like you said, they're waiting on Mass Effect till they're done with this. So you're looking at 2028, 2029. That's when Star Wars Eclipse is rumored to come out, which is everybody laughed about when it said 2028 at the time. But you know, maybe this is really going to be a. I didn't think BioWare would do it again, but maybe they're gonna do a dual gen game where they have like Dragon Age Inquisition. They technically had a 360
Oh yeah.
version and an Xbox version, even though the 360 one, it didn't get all the DLC and it had to require certain things to even work on the 360 versus the Xbox One version. I wonder if they're going to go for that or if it'll be a truly next gen game. But either way, it sounds like it's a long ways off and it's a bummer.
Yeah, and I'm kind of worried because EA has these lofty expectations for sales, and as a BioWare fan, like everyone knows, Dragon Age does not sell as well as Mass Effect. It never has. It never will. And even though Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year at the Game Awards in 2014, it's not going to happen again. Like I can't see Dragon Age having a huge success, like financially. It might be a great game, and the core fan base might buy it, but like casuals also pick up Mass Effect, and I can't say that with Dragon Age. Dragon Age, I can't post any of it, but the UI leaked online about 6 months ago. Some gameplay leaked online. It's action-based combat now. It looks like it's going to play more like a Witcher game, which I'm cool with. But like I can't see casuals picking up a game like Dragon Age where there's basically 1,000 years of lore where you have to know half of it to play the next game. I hope the best for them, and I just want my Mass Effect game sooner. I can't like we'll be talking about GTA later in the show, but like now lifetimes are now going to be measured in GTAs. Like, how many more GTAs do you have left in your lifetime? How many more Dragon Ages? Like, how many more Mass Effects? It's kind of depressing. And yeah, it's sad. The Dragon Age fan base, they've been done dirty, right? They've been waiting
Mhm.
almost 10 years since the last game. It felt like the Inquisition didn't get the support the first game did. The first game has a ton of DLC, Dragon Age Origins. I think the best thing that they could do is put out Dragon Age Legendary Edition. Because, yeah,
Oh, it needs it bad.
yeah, like they could do what they did with the first game for Dragon Age Origins, completely remake all the visual assets, quality of life improvements, stuff like that. Dragon Age 2, they just have to make it prettier and fix the bugs. And Dragon Age Inquisition, all they have to do is make it 4K 60, put in the PC textures, and you're done. And obviously the expansions, but like I think a Dragon Age collection would sell well. You don't have access to the first two Dragon Age on PlayStation. Hell, they could even put it on the Switch too. So yeah, Dragon Age fans. The reason why I begged for years for EA to make a Mass Effect trilogy remaster is because they wanted to hear if there was a want for it. And as far as I know, the Mass Effect trilogy remaster was the most requested remaster of the past decade on Twitter. People that want Dragon Age, they need to request it on Twitter. These developers and publishers actually listen. So if you want a Dragon Age collection, voice it on Twitter. Be annoying like me. Post clips. Do the thing. Do the Mass Effect thing, but for Dragon Age. I
On
would.
a side note, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I would buy it day one.
Yeah, for sure. I was just gonna ask you what you thought about. You remember how when Dragon Age Inquisition came out, and because you were using cross gens of games, like 360 games and a Xbox One game, and you wanted to continue your story and have your save files and all your decisions carry over, so they created that whole complicated website thing where you basically had to map out all your decisions across like two games and expansions.
Yeah.
You think that's what they're gonna do again? Because this is gonna be another big jump? Or do you think they'll do like just a pick and choose like tutorial in the beginning of a game? Like, how would you reckon they solve that?
Personally, like what they did for Dragon Age Inquisition was terrible. I'll go to this website and fill out 50 questions. Like, uh,
Yeah, it was brutal.
yeah, like I opened up the web page for that back in the day, and I was just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I was just like, I'm not doing this. I think the best way to do it would be the way The Witcher 3 did it. So if you played The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, obviously there was no save transfer from like 360 to Xbox One. So there's a scene where you're in a bathtub earlier in the game, and one of the like I want to say king's like butlers or whatever asks you like 4 questions, and that was basically the big plot points of Assassins of Kings, and I thought that was handled really well. So I hope they do it that way because it didn't feel intrusive in Witcher 3. And then there's like one of the main characters in The Witcher 2, depending on a certain choice you make, appears in a random side quest in The Witcher 3. And my mind was blown. And that's all.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's all because you pick a certain answer of what you did in The Witcher 2. I hope they just do it that way because people can't be doing this whole answering a questionnaire thing. Gamers don't like questionnaires. Remember Assassin's Creed Unity and Syndicate? Every time you finished a quest, there would be a pop-up on screen by Ubisoft asking you how good the quest was, and you had to give it 1 to 5 stars. And I hated Ubisoft for that. I gave everything, by the way, a 1 star because they shouldn't have been making me the Q&A tester for a video game they released. Bit of a tangent, but yeah, Dragon Age. Ways off. I hope they just do it the Witcher way. And anyway, we have the first super chat of the day by Nick W for the $4.99. Thank you very much. He says, "What is your favorite GTA? Mine is Vice City. Can't wait for GTA 6." It's Vice City. It's Vice City. I put it like this: playing GTA 3 as a kid. I loved it. It had its problems because you didn't have motorcycles. There were no planes outside of the dodo, so you couldn't really fly properly unless you put in the anti-gravity trees. But when GTA Vice City came out, that was like that time pretty much stopped for that game. Everyone was talking about it. The soundtrack was amazing. The soundtrack made that game. You're going through the neon filled like city with like Michael Jackson on the radio, and basically every other famous song in the 90s, I was to say 80s, and they had motorcycles. Like, that was the biggest thing for me. They had motorcycles. They had, I think, 3 types of helicopter. There was a seaplane, and to this day, like, my fondest gaming memories of is Vice City. Like, every aspect of that game, the story was very much inspired by things like Goodfellas and Scarface, but with the 80s like soundtrack, it was amazing. And even back in the day, that map was tiny. Like, Vice City, as much hype as it had, as great as it was, the story was incredible, the missions were incredible. It was the smallest GTA map to date, and even though it was a tiny map, nobody really complained. It was just such a good game. What about you, Logan?
My favorite GTA is 4, honestly. Like, that was the first one I really delved into, and I went back and played the other ones, but just something about 4 and being in basically New York City as, Nico Bellic comes here and then, hanging with your cousin Roman going bowling or, darts and, the random, fun side missions you could do with companions or dates, the internet cafe, like all the cheats, the vehicles, the weapons, just random stuff. Like I remember there was a comedy show, there was a cabaret place, there was bowling, darts, all these mini games, and it was the first one that introduced the online components really. Like not, GTA online, but like the idea of a internet and choosing, missions or buying and selling cars or stock, like all this stuff. And I really enjoyed the story, and I thought that decision you had to make at the end was actually very impactful. Greatly changed things. And to me it's always stuck with me, so I'd say GTA 4 was my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think, honestly, I think the weakest GTA for me was 5. And I can say that as, like, I've said this on the channel many times. I was addicted to that game online. Like, GTA Online, it came out in, I think it was October 2013, and during any free time I had, any free hour, I was playing GTA Online. I couldn't stop playing it. And thankfully, I didn't spend any like money on microtransactions. Like, I always had that part of me saying, "Don't buy shark cards." But like, I was legitimately, I put it like this: I've earned over $375 million in GTA Online, and I haven't done the heists. Do you know how many hours that is? And like, I gave up on GTA Online and 5 back in 2015. So like, I did all of that, and I've had the addiction for a year and a half, and I got all that money. So I took a step back, and like, I can play GTA story fine now, but like GTA Online, I was genuinely an addict. Not even joking. And I'm not really an addictive person, so like, for me, it was a bit weird. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for the 4.99 XW. Vice City was my favorite, and honestly, I've almost bought the collection a few times just for Vice City. Thankfully, it did release in a broken state. A lot of things were like ruined about it. Like, the signs were all over the place because they used AI to like fix things. Thankfully, now it's in a better state. I might end up getting it at some point. But yeah, Vice City. Uh, if anything, I wish GTA 6 was also set in the 80s, because the stuff they could do with the story now would be amazing. And I think just having an 80s soundtrack in a game is something you don't really get much now. But yeah, GTA, I love that game. Again, we're going to be talking about 6 in a bit. You know what? Before we get onto a really weird topic, I'll say that if you're enjoying the show, about 40 minutes in, please hit like, share, and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. I hate doing these little ads. Super Chats live if you want to support the channel. Anything answered. So, Logan, you brought this to my attention because a lot of people in the Xbox community have been bringing this up, and that is Microsoft Rewards. Oh, what a topic. So, Microsoft Rewards has been around for a long time. For some reason, I've only had access to it since October 2019. And in that time, I've put £100 towards my launch Xbox Series X. I've bought a bunch of games, subscriptions. I bought my Starfield controller with it. my Game Pass out of it, and I've been saying for a few years now, that Microsoft Rewards is the best loyalty program. And it is generally a loyalty program, but you have to do things to get the points. Use Bing, do certain things on Game Pass games, stuff like that. There's also various other ways to get points. So if you get the Bing app on mobile, there's a few different ways to get points. I think you can get 30. You can get 30 to 60 points a day just on the app alone. So if you haven't got that, download the Bing app. Well, over time, Microsoft's been gutting it, and before I get into all the nitty and gritty about why, I'll get into the why first. So if you have a mobile device and you go to your phone, chances are Google opens up first, because Google pays Apple a crap ton of money every year to have that as the default browser. So Bing and Bing Rewards is essentially funded by ad revenue. And it's crystal clear that Bing isn't getting the traffic that it needs to. So, like, a year ago, people were floating in Microsoft Rewards. I was making bank on Microsoft Rewards. And as a statistics person, I was making about 25,000 points per month on Microsoft Rewards. And over the past, 3 months, they've changed it slightly, multiple ways. We used to get a 500 point bonus every month on the Rewards app. They got rid of it because it never worked. And I was like, okay, fair enough. That never worked, the 500 point thing. And then we had the 2,000 points per month for the monthly bonus. And then it went down to 1,000. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And then they got rid of the bonus altogether. And then we used to get 50 points per day for getting an achievement in a Game Pass game. And now it's 5. And now there's certain things on Bing itself, rather than getting 10 to 5 points per day, you get 1 or 2 points per day. So I worked it out, and it depends on country. So in the UK, you get around 3 to 5,000 points less per month now. And now there's a timer in between searches on Bing, and people are angry. And as someone that's I've gotten really efficient at earning Microsoft Rewards. So to me, I kind of just do the British thing and I roll my eyes and think, okay, here we go. But the truth is, they've gutted it a lot, and it's because clearly not enough people are using Bing. Logan, everyone's clearly annoyed at this.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just replace the logo with the Nerf emblem at this point. It's they've completely tanked it. And I get it. It was incomprehensibly amazing at first. Like, you do a little bit of stuff and you got a whole bunch of points that they were giving out free candy. Basically, it was incredible. Like, oh, all I gotta do is do a few searches and I get a bunch of points, or play a game every day or achievement every day. And then, they start, nicking it down a little bit at a time to where it's like, all right, we're going to take it from this many points to this many points to this many points. And then, okay, it's got to be a Game Pass game, not just a game. And, we're no longer going to give you, thousands of rewards points for taking part in a sale or buying a brand new major title. I mean, those were super awesome because it's like, heck yeah, I'm gonna buy Jedi Survivor. Of course, I'm gonna buy it day one. And so I get it, and then you get 6,000 points or whatever, for example. Like, that kind of stuff was awesome. Now it's just very, very bare bones, bare minimum. There's things on the search engine that have a cooldown period, and you only get so many points per so many searches, not even per search. And it's just, at this point, it's looks like they're just wanting to sunset it or make it just a token gesture thing, which, at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. It's better than nothing, obviously, because, they didn't have to do it at all. But when you go from having this glorious 5-star, restaurant buffet type thing to, a drip feed of meh, it's kind of startling a little bit, and people are understandably a bit miffed and peeved about it.
Yeah, and by the way, I'll give some good advice for people while we're on live. So every week we get a 250 point Microsoft reward quest on the Game Pass stuff, and for this week it's for Stardew Valley, and you have to catch 30 fish. Now, some people have struggled with this, and I've done this quest multiple times now. I did it literally just before the show started. Um, you want to go south of the town and buy the training rod, and it makes it easier to catch fish, and you can do it in about 10 minutes. I literally did it a few minutes before the show, but yeah, that's 250 points. But so if you're in the UK, again, it's different per country. I think now I might get maybe 19 to 20,000 points per month rather than 25. Now, it is disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. But people need to be enough people need to be vocal about it for them to take notice, but don't be vocal about it in a vulgar way. And some countries don't have access to it. As far as I know, loyalty systems and things like that are dependent on a country's tax structure. So I know, I think Brazil, they have a completely different way of getting points. It depends on how the tax system works in that country. It's all over the place. But yeah, Microsoft Rewards. It's a great program. It really is. Like when Sony came out with their Sony Stars thing early last year or early this year, like people were comparing it to Microsoft Rewards, like saying, "Hey, you should demand more," because at the time we were getting a lot of points per month for just playing games and doing searches, and now people are annoyed. Like I think the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever the saying is the cooldown period in between searches. It's been reported it's 15 seconds. In the UK, it's 5. I've been testing. It depends on where you live. But yeah, we're just getting less points now. I don't think they're getting rid of the program. I just think they're restructuring it a bit. But it's been crystal clear for a while that like maybe too many people are earning too many points. Because there's videos online of how to get every point like super quick. And like if you like, I put it like this: in 2021, they got rid of the ability to transfer points. You used to be able to transfer points from one Xbox Live account to another. It's crystal clear that people were making dozens of accounts and just making points just to buy games and stuff. I'm not really a fan of taking advantage of a system. But yeah, it is what it is. And I'll again, we'll be posting updates if there's anything different next week or whatever. Anyway, let's get back to the game and goodness. So about a week ago, Sarah Bond posted a random picture of an Xbox 360 logo, and people like me and Logan lost our minds because does this mean more backwards compatibility games? Because I like myself some backwards compatibility. Well, it turns out ever since she's been posting more about 360 games, like a random post about Blue Dragon and all that stuff, Lost Odyssey, and people again are thinking, are we getting a random backwards compatibility drop? Because if you go on 360 now, there's about, I think someone counted, there's about 280 games available on Xbox Live on 360 that aren't backwards compatible. That was back in the day when if a AAA game released, they weren't doing day-and-date digital games. Like, if you think about that now, it's crazy. Like, everything's digital day one. But back then, pretty much all AAA games didn't get a digital release. So you have this segment of games stranded on 360, and Microsoft shutting down the Xbox 360 store in, summer 2024? So we basically have, 6 months to see what's going to happen with those games. And honestly, with the Activision thing, there's still some, Bethesda things that aren't backwards compatible. I'm kind of in the 70% believing that there's going to be another backwards compatibility drop. I may be delusional. I may be a bit over enthusiastic about this, but honestly, I think that given that there's just certain games on there that I don't know why they're backwards compatible. Like Singularity, you can still buy on PC. It's not backwards compatible. The Saboteur is still available on PC, even though that's EA. It's not backwards compatible. Just things like that. It doesn't add up. And yeah, I honestly think it's going to happen. Like, what about you, Logan? Because there's something going on with 360 news.
Yeah, I'm confident that we will be getting a BC batch at some point. Like, you can't say it's written in stone or whatever, but I feel like the energy and vibes are there. I think there's been enough breadcrumbs and, reading tea leaves and little clues, and Sarah knows what she's doing. I mean, she's the head of Xbox now. You have to remember, like, she doesn't do things by accident. And she's very engaged with the community. They know, and if anybody could do it, she could. She's in charge of the hardware and software stuff now, to where their plans for business and everything. So that would be directly her wheelhouse. Like if somebody wanted to restart the program or get it rolling, she would be the one to give the nod, go ahead on that. And so to me, I really do think it's happening. And I do think it will be an ABK centric batch with a few Bethesda titles thrown in, maybe some others. Because, like you said, there are several that are just lost for some reason that doesn't really make sense why they're not BC, except they just aren't. Like, you have the all the rights now to Wolfenstein '09, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Quake 4, Quake Wars. Like those are the Bethesda ones that somehow were mixed up with Activision because of IPs and engines and collaborations and yada yada yada. So you have all the rights to those and Hexen and stuff like that. So you can bring those forward. Spyro and Crash. There should literally be no issues with those whatsoever. You own all of Activision now. It's not like they're partnered with other things. Like Naughty Dog has no or Insomniac don't have influence on those anymore. You can bring those back. You've got, Blur would probably have some issues with music, and you know how car licensing music is. That one might be an issue, but Gun shouldn't be a big deal to bring back to BC. Great Western game before Red Dead ever happened. Um, you got older Tony Hawk games. You've Metal Arms glitch in the system. There's so many games from Sierra as well. Singularity's a no-brainer. It's literally it. I mean, it's literally Raven working on it, and you own them, so there's no problem. So to me, I think it's happening. If it happens at Game Awards, I would be very happy and pleasantly surprised. Personally, think that's going to be more of a next year, early next year kind of thing. But I wouldn't be shocked if there was some BC 360 related thing soonish.
Yeah, I think there's just too many signs pointing towards it. And by the way, whenever we talk about backwards compatibility, or when I talk about it on Twitter, there's this unusual like hate towards backwards compatible games. We obviously know which fan base.
Because they did jack crap on it. Oh, sorry.
No, no,
It
no,
irritates me too. I'm sorry.
no. You're right. Because like I would love PlayStation to have backwards compatibility. I would love to be able to play my copy of Metal Gear Solid 4 on a machine that doesn't sound like it's about to take off. Like my PS3 Slim is it's pretty much done. Like you put a disc in that thing, it's going to take off. It sounds like the helicarrier from Avengers. It's terrible. And people say like Microsoft they have no legacy or whatever, but they're the only ones that take care of their legacy. Like they have over 600 games backwards compatible, over 600 360 games. I think there's like 70 or 80 OG Xbox games. A lot of those games have upgrades. If I remember correctly, all Xbox original games have 4K enhancements. So, like, people clearly care. And remember, the biggest pop at E3 ever wasn't for Final Fantasy Remake, wasn't for any game. It was for backwards compatibility in 2015. Because on 360 and 7th generation, people built up these huge libraries of games because it was a long generation, remember? And people all of a sudden had ability to play those games again. And I don't understand the fan base that constantly says, "Hey, we against digital, and we want people to buy their games." But the second you mention people buying or playing old games, it's a laughing stock apparently. So where's the sense in that? And Logan, you've probably seen it this past week. Like there's PlayStation centric people that are saying they are against digital, but they don't want you to buy and play old games. Where's the sense in that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like it's a circus, you know. It goes up to the leadership, like at Sony. You know, old Jimbo. He's had a few quotes throughout the years about no one plays old games or no one cares about this or this, and then having to circle back and change tune or we believe in generations, but oh, not really, and all that nonsense. It fits with the style and the mentality and the ego of it, and it's ridiculous. It's like games and movies, like I put them interchangeably, and songs. Like, are you meaning to tell me you don't listen to? Go to your library, just out of curiosity. Go to your library of music on Spotify or iTunes, whatever. How many songs do you listen to that were made more than 5 years ago or whatever? I would say probably quite a bit. You listen to older music. You watch older movies. You love Star Wars. You love Godfather. You love Star Trek. All these franchises, classics like Casablanca. And then you got new stuff like Godzilla Minus One or Oppenheimer, Barbie, whatever. Like, people love all across the spectrum and eras. Like, there's timeless things in movies and music and in games. And so the fact that some people decide that they want to go on some ego power trip and try to downplay older games, like LOL old game bad, I'm like, you do realize like some of these games are like way better than what we're getting nowadays, like where everything seems the same quite a bit
Yeah.
for some of these companies. And so you really want to sit here and tell me that Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, Pokemon, the original Halo, Gears of War, Fable, God of War, the original, hack and slash ones, or Jack and Daxter, all these classic games. Like, you're just going to say they're a pile of trash and rubbish and nobody should appreciate them and go back and play them because it's older than 5 minutes, which is more than your TikTok brain can comprehend. Then I don't know what to tell you. That's a you problem. That's not a consumer problem. We People who enjoy art, whether it's Mona Lisa or it's, oh hey, this guy did a cool decal on this street sign for some promotion of something. Like, it is what it is. You appreciate things, and trying to carbon date something and make it into war fodder because your company has a bare bones approach to actually appreciating what they have in their IP vault is laughable. Sorry for the tangent. Few things make me mad, but that's one of them.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Before we get back to the backwards compatible topic, we have a new super chat for $2 by Hacky Sack. Thank you very much. He says, does GTA 6 in 2025 mark the end of the generation? No. I wouldn't worry about that. It's basically Rockstar maximizing profit. Because in 2025, there's still games coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Like this, we are going to see the longest cross-generation release schedule ever in the history of games. I've seen games listed for last generation that's releasing in 2026. It's a good time for GTA to launch simply because there's going to be a crap ton of consoles out by then, depending on who has the marketing deal, and we'll be talking about that in a bit. By then, there's probably going to be over 100 million consoles out there combined, whereas now some people are still finding it hard to find consoles. If GTA 6 were to release now, they are capping themselves at 80 million potential sales, but then all of them aren't really going to buy GTA. It's not going to be on PC day one, which we're going to talk about. It's not going to be on last generation. So GTA could potentially maybe sell just, I don't know, 20 million right now, whereas I think in 2025 they are going to sell 50 million in the first month. Not even kidding. But they can't do that now just because of the amount of consoles out there. But anyway, thank you very much for the $2 hacky sacks. But yeah, the backwards compatibility thing infuriates me because you want us to buy games, you want us to support physical media, but not play them, replay them. I replay old games all the time. You know, I'm debating going through Deus Ex Human Revolution again because that's one of my favorite games. And like you were mentioning, older media like films, music, TV. Like I have been listening to a crap ton of Billy Idol recently, right? That's old music. You know, I watch the Aliens movies all the time because they're really good, and we don't get films like that anymore. Unfortunately, I could cry myself to sleep at night knowing that we're not going to get another film like Aliens. But like the older stuff's good, and like you were saying, Logan, like a lot of 360 games and like 7th gen games were better than most games we have now. And it's the sad truth. You know, look at the 7th gen, right? The best-selling game of all time, outside of Minecraft, is GTA 5. It's a 360 game. The version we have now on, current-gen consoles, we play in a 360 game with ray tracing. Some people don't realize that. So why do people like old games? Because they're bloody good. That's why. Older games, I think, have more value. Older games, we had more genres. Do you know when we don't get linear third-person shooters anymore? Everything's open world. Look at things like hub world RPGs, The Witcher 2, Fable, Deus Ex, all hub world games, these 50-hour, 30-hour RPGs that have these handcrafted, amazing side quests that take place in their own little areas. Same with the Mass Effect trilogy. And now everything's a bloated open world with like 55,000 fetch quests. I'm hinting at Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And back then, that wasn't a thing. Like, people listening right now and later on, remember the excitement about the 7th generation. Everything coming out was exciting. Oblivion came out, blew people's minds. You had BioShock come out in 2007, and people were mind-blown. To this day, it still looks amazing. You know, Assassin's Creed was ahead of its time with its crowd system. Dead Space in 2008 with its, like 3D audio and all that stuff. Like, nothing was like that. It was a new kind of horror game. And now, I've said this on the channel many times, and I have a video coming about it soon. Everything we play now is pretty much the same game. But old games felt different. And, like, again, look at old games, right? During the 7th generation, we were getting quote-unquote GTA clones all the time. GTA actually had competition because companies were trying. You had Saints Row, you had the Godfather and Scarface games. Even though they didn't sell that well, they were still trying something. You know, Watch Dogs was even on the 360, which was impressive at the time. And now, if you want an open-world, city-based crime game, you have these choices. GTA or GTA. That's all you have now. Right? And I don't know, like, it really annoys me because I replay games all the time. Not because I have no new games. And by the way, I'm going to directly talk at these arsehots that do this. Every time I post about an older game, I get lol old games, you've got no new games. But every time I post about new games on Twitter, I don't get any replies by these people. Why is that? Why did they just happen to ignore that the fact that on Twitter, every single day of the year, literally every single day of the year, I post clips of games I'm playing. Every day of the year. I post maybe 2 to 5 clips every single day on Twitter, and they ignore it. They ignore it, calling lol old games. Why? Because they don't have access to... Honestly, I think it's just jealousy. It really is. If the PlayStation 5 and 4 were backwards compatible with 3, 2, 1, PSP, Vita, they would be happy as anything. They would be singing it from the mountaintops. They would be talking about it. Because remember when the PlayStation 5 was about to come out? That's all they were talking about, saying, oh, it's going to be backwards compatible with PS3. Remember the remaster engine that people were spreading around for some reason? So they were hyping up old games until they didn't have them anymore. It's annoying. Sorry for the tangent, but man, like, you're not even allowed to like games that you just enjoy. It has to be the newest thing ever, and if you talk about the new thing, it's called trash. Go to any of my posts where I'm posting videos. If I post about a game older than a year old, I get lol old games. If I post about anything new, people call it mid. Look at every single post I make about Starfield. I get negative replies. And multiple people have told me they don't post footage on Twitter anymore of any games they play because they get harsh replies. And that's sad. So it's like you can't win. It's either lol old games or mid. I don't know. You know, considering I mentioned Starfield, I want to talk about the future of Starfield briefly because Phil Spencer in a recent interview said they've hit 12 million players. And I finally finished it, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned it on the channel since, but I finally finished Starfield. It was an incredible game. Someone mentioned, why is it taking me so long to finish it? It's because I've been sick for 2 months. like it's a bit hard to play video games when you're struggling to breathe. But I finally finished the story, and I have to say this is going to be the toughest year for Game of the Year for me. I've played so many great games, and it's just going to be really tough. Okay, I'm getting achievements for some reason. It's going to be a tough year, but Starfield was such a great adventure. It was through and through a Bethesda RPG, but it gave me something new. The fact that I could go around in a starship and hail other ships and have conversations with people. But I've dreamt of that stuff since I was a kid, watching Star Trek, TNG, Deep Space Nine. Like, I've always wanted to do that in a game, and I had that in this game. And that's why I've had so much excitement about Starfield. Is it a Bethesda RPG? Is it Fallout in space and Skyrim in space? Yes. Does that make it bad? Hell no. Skyrim is one of the most played games to date. It's still one of the most played games on Steam. It's always popping up in the...
Another 360 game, by the way.
Yeah, good point. Like, Skyrim is a 360 game. People still play that stuff. And like Starfield has had this weird, unnecessary hate since launch. People call it controversial, but if you really think about it, what's controversial about Starfield? Like genuinely think about it. What's the controversial aspect? It's exclusive to Microsoft's ecosystem, and what? It's the least buggiest Bethesda game to date. Starfield literally has the least amount of... I've never encountered any bugs in Starfield. But I did for Fallout 3, Fallout 3 New Vegas, Fallout 4, although not many in Fallout 4 for me. In Skyrim, I had bugs, but in this, perfectly fine. But I've noticed people comparing it to bloody Cyberpunk, and I think that doesn't even make any sense. Cyberpunk was in development for way longer. I think Cyberpunk was in development for like 7 years. Starfield wasn't. And they're different kinds of RPGs. Like, Starfield is an exploration game where it's about exploring worlds and interesting storylines. Cyberpunk kind of falls into the Mass Effect style RPG, as in, like, it's all about the characters. And Bethesda's RPGs have never been about that. Bethesda's RPGs are about exploration, wonder. Like, when you go and play Skyrim, the wonder isn't talking to a new character, it's discovering a mountain, and that the fact that you can go up that mountain and there's a temple and you get new shouts and new magic powers. Like, that was the thing about Skyrim. The thing about Oblivion was its main quest line. The main quest line in Oblivion is incredible, but it's still a Bethesda game, and people love the dungeons in Oblivion. But for Starfield, it's all about exploring new planets. You land on a planet, and the cool thing is you can land on a planet, do some exploration, do some side quests, do some main quests, and then you can look up at a moon in the sky and fly to it, land on it, and explore more. Like, that is incredible. And the fact that we can do that in video games is so great. But where do we go from here? By the way, Logan, you finished Starfield's story, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm on my first New Game Plus, but after putting well over 100 hours into it and beating the first go round, I was like, you know what? I need a break from a heavy commitment RPG, and so that's what got me onto boomer shooters for a while because I needed a palate cleanser. But incredible, incredible game.
Yeah, it's a great story, and like I've played maybe 100 hours over the past few months. It's been a great experience, and I don't think I'll ever have an experience like that in an RPG for a very long time because it's been a great ride. But I think it's had just this weird wave of unnecessary hate, and nobody can really explain why. Like, there's these counts on Twitter.
Oh, they can. They just don't want to.
Yeah, uh, like, is it perfect? Is Starfield perfect? No. But have I ever played a game I could call perfect? No. Like, I ramble on about Mass Effect every single day, but Mass Effect 2, which I consider a 10 out of 10, it's a masterpiece. It's not perfect. As someone that's played that game a lot, the main story for Mass Effect 2 feels short. Is it a short game? No. But to me, it does because I've played it so many times and I can just spot everything. Is Elden Ring a 10 out of 10? Yes. Is it perfect? No. The fact that I missed out on side quests because there was no markers at all. Random characters from side quests would show up at random locations and you wouldn't know how or where they were unless you looked online. Like, that was a really bad thing in my opinion. But I still gave the game a 10 because it's incredible. There's no game like Elden Ring. And when it comes to Starfield, I think there's been so much forced hate about Starfield. People don't know what to think about that game. People say it's controversial when it hasn't done anything wrong. There's no aspects of the story, characters, or themes that are controversial. But it's the fact that it exists. It is controversial. What kind of world are we living in? Sony wanted to buy exclusivity to that game, and now it's exclusive to Microsoft's platform. It's clear why people are angry about it. Crystal clear. It's an incredible RPG, but I loved it. And, we're going to get a new expansion, Shattered Space. I assume that's going to come before the end of April, going off the past track record for, Bethesda RPG expansions. But, yeah, Starfield, it's been a great game. I think, Phil Spencer was asked what's the future like for the game. What does he say the future for it? And he said people are going to be playing it as long as Skyrim. I think that's really possible, considering the amount of people play Skyrim still. You have much more space for Starfield. And I will say this.
Let's see what you did there.
Yeah, I hope other people noticed as well. I'm crap with dad puns. But when it comes to Starfield, they can do anything with it. And they can actually fix a lot of stuff, right? You land on a moon now, and it's kind of flat. There's some hills. Like, in updates, they can add things like mountain ranges, valleys, things like that. Lakes and stuff. Like, when it comes to future content, I don't think they can just do expansions. I think they're going to add actual features. Like, it might seem like a small feature, like an eat button, but the added a requested feature. They'll probably put more things that you can find on planets, stuff like that. And I think that's the big benefit of them having a team that's still making content for Starfield. Like, Logan, what do you think's next for Starfield?
That's a great question. Like you said, they have plenty of room to work with, and they can add new planets, new cultures, new worlds. Like, obviously, you have to dance around some stuff because of spoilery stuff. I think most people have gotten pretty far in it by now, but in case, I won't go there. But there's a lot they can work with, and there's room for different variations and versions of things. We'll put it that way. And like, I would love for them to add vehicles. Like, I think vehicles or mounts, like whether it's like a cool little dragon lizard dude or a giant cat thing or like a moped, an ATV, a tank, whatever. Like, vehicles just seem like a no-brainer for traversal. Like, hopefully they don't make it like the Mako in Mass Effect 1, but um just some land vehicles would be great, or flying stuff besides the jetpack. I would love personally if they did some underwater exploration stuff. Like, I don't know. There's just something about being deep in the ocean and just the mystery and grandeur of it, and also the isolation and kind of spooky aspects of water. Like, I think if they could do like some subterranean culture stuff or exploration, like with subs, or you could have like this whole Atlantis type thing like down in the waves, or like Interstellar where you have like water planets and you're actually going deep in, and like you see this leviathan like thing swim by, and like there's so much they can do, like even down to something as simple as the eat button, which seems like a no-brainer, and a map system thing for all the shops and all the local stuff to make traversal a little easier to remember, like some quality of life stuff. But I'd like some new factions as well, and maybe some follow ups to some of the campaigns you did, like see how things are going with the terramorph thing or the pirates or whatever.
Yeah, I think if you look at past like Fallout and Elder Scrolls expansions, like they've done completely different areas, they've added features. Um, with it being set in space, they can really do anything. Different planets, different kinds of planets. Maybe new star bases, and I think like the sky is the limit with that game because they can do anything, and I think the future's bright for Starfield. But the unnecessary hate I see online, like people really need to question it. Like, why is it there? And next time anyone's on Twitter or anything and they see someone like call it controversial, ask them why. They can't give you a genuine answer. They call it buggy when it's the least buggiest game today. And notice that bugs are an issue for Starfield, but not for Spider-Man. How is that a thing? Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, Starfield, great game. It's got a brighter future ahead. Anyway, you know what? Let's talk about this now. I was going to leave it till later, but the doom and gloom. So, right after we finished last week's show, someone from Microsoft started talking about how they want to have the games on more platforms and have Game Pass everywhere on all screens. And chaos ensued. People were saying Microsoft's going to go third party. And honestly, I just muted the term third party because people don't know how to read, apparently. People assume screens and think PlayStation and Nintendo. The nerds with PlayStations and Nintendos, we're all nerds, let's be honest. They all have televisions with smart apps. Why would Microsoft need to put an app on a console when they have the television right there? That makes no sense. So anyway, people were losing it online. Start saying Microsoft's getting out of the console business, even though people have been saying this for 22 years. And it's tiresome. Well, anyway, 24 hours goes by, and Jez Corden from Windows Central had an excellent interview. Highly recommend people check that out. And one of the things that was pointed out that Phil Spencer said that there's no plans for Game Pass to go on PlayStation and Nintendo. Debunked the thing within a day. It's kind of crazy that we still talk about this stuff. We still talk about Microsoft going third party based on nothing. And the people that complain about Game Pass, say Game Pass has no value, say it's hurting the industry, they all of a sudden want Game Pass on their console. Bit crazy, isn't it? Microsoft, they have their apps, and like, if you want to play an Xbox game, you have a choice. Do you buy an Xbox console? Do you buy a PC? Or do you play it on a streaming app via an xCloud device or mobile phone, tablet, smart television? That, like, putting it on a PlayStation or a Nintendo makes no sense for either business at all, and it would literally push Microsoft out of the console business. Like, Microsoft has made some weird choices over the past decade, but them putting their service on a different console makes no sense financially at all, and people just ran with it. And like, why 22 years later are we still going with this? And I honestly think that the gaming community needs something negative to talk about. It's always something negative, and Microsoft is always the butt of the joke. Like, look at today. It's gone widespread that Sony, for some reason, banning accounts, and nobody's talking about it. But can you imagine if Microsoft were just outright banning accounts, like by accident even? It'd be all over the place. But they are looked at differently. And I'm not going to talk about the Xbox tag thing. That's old business. But it is a bit weird how Microsoft going third party was basically a term used on IGN. Remember IGN were like, oh, they want to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Switch, and then the second it was debunked by Phil Spencer, IGN barely talked about it. Barely talked about it. Why? It's because positive Xbox news gets less views. That is the gist of it. If you run something like an IGN or a GameSpot, I guarantee you that if you cover Xbox and it's positive, you get less views. It is the case. It is the case. Logan, the whole thing that happened last week with the third party thing was just pure nonsense. What's your take on the whole thing?
I mean, basically that. It's just pure nonsense. It's more that, attention span of a gnat and, TikTok brain, like 5 seconds or less, like don't take time to actually comprehend something or assess something. And they just go, oh, this was said, it must be true. And, it's out there and we're just going to run with it and, run around like Chicken Little, like the sky's falling, instead of going, wait a minute, does this actually make sense? Like, what has their past behavior done over the best, the best predictive thing is past behavior. It's like, how have they operated over 20 something years? Have they ever seemed like they're going third party? Have they ever, made a strong desire to do that, strong push to do that? No. Like, what has Phil continually said over and over and over again anytime someone brings this up? No, we're not doing that. And so, thankfully, he called up Jez and they had a, phone sit down interview and he could put it to bed again. It's ridiculous. It's like the Bethesda exclusivity thing. It's like, how many what different ways do I have to tell you, old man? This is not happening. And it's like that. He constantly has to say it. I will say, I'll be careful how I phrase it, but there seems to be too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes when it comes to Microsoft communications, whether it's Xbox related, financial related, whatever. Somebody they'll have a view in their head of how they're processing it and trying to explain it to some people. And then their way, they're trying to convey one thing, but then people hear it as a different thing and run with it. Or, they'll say something that seems contradictory, which I'm sure they're not trying to contradict each other or cause drama. But then it causes online drama, and then Phil or somebody has to come out and be like, no, that's nonsense. Move along. These aren't the droids you're looking for. It's it's a thing. I know Matt Booty and Phil in the past, there have been several times where Matt Booty would say something and it would seem to directly contradict what Phil had said, or vice versa. And then Phil would have to come out and clean it up. And then Matt Booty kind of disappeared for a while. You didn't hear from him for a while. And then, his role changed, and you're hearing more from him, and he learned from that. And he's doing a much better, concise job of communicating and, getting the point out that matches what is going on behind the scenes. Some other people seem to it still doesn't seem to align properly. So it's mainly, I think, a big communication issue. And as far as like the certain accounts running with things and stuff, like I generally, if you followed my social media presence for any length of time, you generally see I generally don't go after people or just get mad or aggravated with people or antagonize people. I'll make jokes and sarcastic stuff, but I generally don't go after people. Like there's like one outlet in particular, like I have not agreed with in the past,
IGN.
and that's one of what?
Was it IGN?
Yes. Um, and one of their major spokespeople, I in the past had disagreements with about some stuff, and basically that's one of the few people that have blocked me on there because I basically was like, really, are we gonna go here with this? But you know, for the most part, people aren't trying to be ridiculous, but some of these accounts gotta do better.
Yeah, the whole third party thing. It's if anything, like Microsoft was going to go third party, and even third party, Microsoft was going to probably leave the console business last generation. The Xbox One launch was horrific. They have a documentary on their YouTube channel talking about this. Phil Spencer literally saved the company, basically. And the reason we have Xbox today is because Xbox has evolved into a modern ecosystem. It had to. And now we can have various different genres of games. Look, Microsoft, people say they're a shooter box. Microsoft, and I have a video coming out about this soon. Microsoft have more exclusives in development that are single player than people realize. Way more. And this is coming from the shooter box company with microtransactions and DLC. Remember, that's what they portrayed as. It's single player. We wouldn't be getting that if it wasn't for Game Pass. Game Pass allows them to do take risks. That's why we have Pentiment. Pentiment pretty much wasn't going to happen if it wasn't for Game Pass. But yeah, people need to exit the third party thing. People just take something and run with it and just worry. Really, Microsoft aren't going to commit to making next gen consoles. They have a revision coming out next year. They have a new controller coming out next year. They have a lot of first party games in development, and people now think they're going third party. It's outrageous. Basically, you can say Minecraft prints money, and that's on everything, but Minecraft isn't in the modern age a system seller. It's something that's just on everything. Call of Duty is going to remain multi-platform, even though it's a first-party title. But your Halo, your Starfield 2, your Elder Scrolls, they've said it's exclusive. So why the third-party talk? It's silly. Anyway, we have a bunch of topics left. But if you're enjoying the show, again, we're about an hour and a half into the show. YouTube is great, but doesn't share my content a lot. Like, share, and subscribe. Really helps. Super chats of life if you want to support the channel. Anyway, so GTA. We were originally going to get the trailer today, and it was leaked online, unfortunately. I hate leaks, by the way. I absolutely hate leaks like this. I can only I bet all of Rockstar North were ready to pop champagne when that trailer went live, and someone leaked it on Twitter, so they basically posted it saying, hey, watch ours on YouTube. I felt awful for the developers. That was a scummy thing to do. Well, anyway, the trailer's out, and by the way, before I get into my thoughts of the trailer, I decided to watch some reactions to the trailer, and a lot of people in the comments were calling it mid. Are you out of your mind?
That's their favorite word, man.
Yeah, they have they have the smallest vocabulary. They can say mid, trash, goat,
Banger.
banger. I hate that word, by the way. Do you know what banger means in the UK? It means a sausage or a crappy car. So when people are calling games bangers,
Over here it's like, yeah, it's not, it's negative here too, except for somehow in pop culture it's a good thing.
yeah, I've always wondered that. Stop calling games sausages. It makes no sense. But outside of that, outside of the negativity and people are saying silly things about the trailer, that game is looking good. GTA 6 looks great. Again, I've been at GTA. Before we continue, we have a new super chat by Nick W for $4.99. Thank you very much. He says Phil turned Xbox around. What he and his team is second to none. A job turning around Xbox. You're right. By the way, I've lost the ability to read today. Apparently, it's been a long day. But you're right. If it wasn't for Phil, Xbox would not be around today in the way it is. If it was, it wouldn't be anywhere near it. People look at the Xbox One as this failure, right? But the Xbox One sold over 60 million consoles. The Xbox One is the second best-selling Xbox of all time. The Xbox Series consoles are probably going to overtake it, likely. Although the pandemic didn't help with the shortage, but like Xbox is in a good place, and I don't think people need to worry every other month when there's a quote-unquote made-up rumor, and people just start saying third party all of a sudden. Like logistically, financially, it makes no sense. Microsoft, do you know Xbox is really Microsoft's only liked, product? Like Azure isn't a thing people talk about. Windows isn't really a thing people talk about. They don't have the phone anymore. They definitely don't have Zune. Like Xbox is the only quote unquote cool Microsoft product. They are never going to get rid of it. Especially considering they said they are literally working on next gen hardware right now. But yeah, you're very right, Nick W. And thank you very much for the $4.99. Phil turned it all around. Phil turned it around, and people just need to take a step back, realize, maybe stop taking the crazy pills, and I always feel that some of the people that say this stuff, they are just wanting it to happen. Like I never want to live in a world where Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony aren't making consoles together, because if you take Xbox out of the picture, you have basically all the hardcore like AAA games only on PlayStation. Developers would be able to raise the price to anything they want. Nothing would be pushing Sony forward. Like, look, people can say what they want about Sony and the success or whatever. Sony has copied things in the past because of Microsoft's success. They got trophies because of Xbox. People wanted a trophy-like system on PlayStation. They got it. PSN was in an archaic state in the early PlayStation 3 generation, and they had to up their game because Xbox Live was popping off with the way the sales worked and the whole ecosystem was. And now people want a ecosystem like Xbox on Nintendo and PlayStation, where you have the integrated account across platforms carrying your games forward. And look at Xbox. People want more single-player games on Xbox because Sony have them, and now they're working on them. They all benefit each other. Nintendo, I'm sure Nintendo is going to take some, lessons from both of them. Although Nintendo kind of does their own thing at the end of the day. But you're right, like Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, they all bring something to the table, and people just need to stop wishing for it. Anyway, GTA. GTA 6 looks incredible. I've watched that trailer probably about 30 times. And like the graphics look great. My big takeaway from that trailer isn't the graphics. Like the graphics genuinely look amazing. It looked better than I thought it was going to. I honestly went into the trailer thinking, okay, it's going to look like Red Dead Redemption 2, maybe slightly better. And this looked miles ahead of Red Dead Redemption 2. Like the simulation of hair physics, like the skin looked real, clothing looked real. But outside of that, the best thing about Rockstar and their development is they do something better than any other developer on the planet, and that's open world simulation. If you walk down a street in Watch Dogs, you're just walking down a street in Watch Dogs. If you're walking down a street in Saints Row, same thing. You're walking down a street in Saints Row. If you walk down a street in Grand Theft Auto 5 or 4, you feel like you're walking in a real place because of world simulation. Nobody does it like Rockstar. And I watched that trailer, and it's bat crap crazy. You have alligators walking into stores, people reacting to the alligators. There's people pulling up to nightclubs and stuff. It looks realistic. There's a dude sitting on the street with a lizard on his shoulder. Like, it's so out there, and it looks incredible. The fact that they're doing social commentary again, which they've always done. Grand Theft Auto 5, they made fun of Facebook. And in this, they're clearly making fun of TikTok. There's a ton of TikTok references, and like there's a Karen in one of the clips. There's someone mowing the lawn naked, like in one of the clips. Like it's so out there, and it's commentary on modern age society, where let's be honest, it's crazy online. It's Mad Max. People post anything for quote unquote clout. You can literally open up Twitter anytime and see anything. And I mean anything. And I think that, nobody does it like Rockstar. And I watched that trailer, and I was just impressed. Logan, before I continue, like, what did you think about that trailer? Because like the world kind of stood still yesterday.
Yeah, I was just it was an incredible trailer. Like I just, obviously the visuals pop out and I love the use of colors like the Vice City vibes and color schemes for Miami and how it not only captured the spirit of Miami but Florida itself, which is I know you're from across the pond, but let's just say Florida's a wild place. And a lot of stuff happens in Florida. And it really encaptures that from like you've got bayou type swamp folk to, you know, some more country types to like the Vice City, like, nitty like the super uppity, swanky nightclubs with the exotic cars pulling up front to some of the more rough and tumble parts of Florida. It looks incredible and like I know it sounds silly, but the hair, my goodness, like the hair physics on this game are incredible. Like Lucia, I believe that's her name,
Yeah,
or Lucia,
yeah,
or like her hair and some of the other characters, like their facial animations and the hair physics, like when she turns her head and like flips her hair back, and or like when people are walking on the beach or dancing, whatever. It's just the physics on this thing are masterwork, and above all, the story is what really grabs me because I like the idea of I know everybody has said it, so I won't be original, but the Bonnie and Clyde vibes of it are really cool. And it's different for Grand Theft Auto to have dual protagonists and, like this pair together. And, like, I don't know. I'm curious to see where the story is, like, because you see in the trailer at one point she's in prison. So I'm curious if they're going to do it like GTA 5 where Michael has therapy and he goes there and he talks about past stuff. So I'm wondering if like at the beginning of the game is actually like the end of the story or towards the end and you've been captured after your big whatever and they're talking to you and you're going over things, or if that's in the middle of the game, beginning, whatever. That's something I'm curious about. But overall, I expect it to be awesome. 2025 is a little bit surprising, but to be honest, after somebody was a troll and leaked a whole bunch of the game a year or two ago, and then COVID and all this, I'm not totally shocked it's 25.
yeah. Before we get into like the nitty gritty details of it, the 2025 thing didn't surprise me. Not because of like some inside baseball thing. It's because in the UK, offices were closed for most of 2020 and part of 2021. Rockstar North in Scotland, so they were closed for a long time. So I can't imagine making a game as detailed and as like rich as GTA. Like I can't imagine making a game like that from home, like at all. Um, so 2025, it does seem really far away, and to think that it's going to be 12 years after GTA 5's release. I was joking the other day with someone saying like, wouldn't it be funny if the trailer comes out and it's 2 years away? It's 2 years away. I expect it's going to be September 2025. But we just have to somehow live till 2025. We can do this, everyone. Like, just be very careful when you're crossing the street. Maybe smell your food before you eat it. Be very careful because, like, I'm seeing GTA 6. Like, that game looks incredible. I like the two protagonists, Lucia and Jason. They look cool. Like you said, the hair simulation. I thought the prison thing was the beginning of the game, like you. The whole therapy session thing with Michael in GTA 5, it was kind of reminiscent of that. But like as a British person, I did recognize the Florida Man simulator thing going on. Like whenever I open up Twitter, it's always like Florida Man eats his own face. Florida Man, trades pet cat for alligator. Stuff like that. the Florida Man thing was all over this trailer. I loved it. It's hilarious. Again, the alligator in someone's pool thing. I just thought that was funny. I love the fact that they have an emphasis on wildlife. That was a big thing for Red Dead Redemption. In GTA 5, they said it was. They said you can go hunting, but I'm calling them BS. The wildlife in GTA 5 is nowhere near as good as they said it was going to be. But in this, you could literally see it. Performance, look, the game's that far out. I'm not talking about performance. And let's be real. If it's 30 frames per second, everyone that says they get headaches from 30 are all of a sudden not going to get headaches. That game is going to sell, I'm putting this out there, I think 20 to 25 million copies in the first week. Not even kidding. That game has broken records. It's already at over 80 million views on Twitter in just over 24 hours. So that's going to break records. The date's out. Xbox Live and PlayStation Network's going to go down that day. For real. It's not going to be on PC. It looks like day one, which it kind of doesn't surprise me. You know, this is being built from the ground up for current gen consoles. And I think they just want to get that out of the way and have a decent PC launch. It's crappy for PC players because they have to wait, or they're going to have to double dip like they did with 5 and 4. I think 4 also came later. It's crappy, but I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. But the game looks incredible. Again, world simulation. I want to talk about the map. Now, I'm trying to speak legally here. I think I've seen the picture of the map, and I think one of the pictures I've got is real. I'm being careful here. The map is bigger than GTA 5, and the map looks very interesting. You know, I felt that GTA 5 got boring very quick. I felt the city part was small. I felt that there wasn't really much of anything interesting outside of the city. But in this, there's like clearly things going on. There's a harbor with like, you know, shipping containers. There's shipping routes in the game. You know, there's sharks. There's dolphins in the game. It looks like there's actually things going on in the world. So again, deeper world simulation. And the thing is, one of the big takeaways from the trailer was that my favorite car from GTA 5, the car I've used since I think week 1 in GTA Online, the Jester, I saw it in this trailer and I lost my mind. The car I've chose to drive in GTA 5 Online for almost 10 years was in this trailer. I lost my mind. So I'm going to be driving that car again. But the game looks great. I don't understand the whole mid comments. I will say this though. I look at this trailer and I think it's going to have a crap ton of mini games. Like if you play GTA 5, you've got golf, dart, tennis, what else? Probably a bunch of other stuff, but the game just looks good. 2025 is a while off, but it's probably going to be one of the best games ever made. It's on a technical level, what's going on, the amount of people that were on the beach, you don't see that in modern games. The amount of traffic density. Let's talk about that. Traffic density in GTA 4 was terrible. You'd have entire streets that were empty, even in like the main city. In GTA 5, they said, "Oh, it's going to be more realistic," and it felt empty a lot. And then we got the next gen upgrade, and they said denser traffic. I'm sorry, but it's not dense enough. And yeah, this looks incredible. Like dense traffic, I want that in a game like this. There was a hint at street racing, which I wanted in GTA 5. We didn't get that. No street racing plot lines. I'm hoping there's a street racing plot line because they can make fun of Fast and the Furious. And I want to talk about the female protagonist, Lucia. The stuff online is crazy, by the way. She's the first female protagonist in the Grand Theft Auto. No, she's not. Like in the I can't remember if it was Grand Theft Auto 1 or 2 or both, but you could pick to play 1 or 2 women out of the, I think, 6 characters. Women. So like the people are going over the top and saying, "Oh my god, it's the first female." No, she's not. And she looks like a cool character. So I don't know why people are losing it. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6, it looks amazing. It's probably going to set the bar for games. And when it comes to world simulation, like, I just want more developers. Like, I'm trying to think how I can put this. Take Two have had a basically unlimited wallet for funding when it comes to this game because of GTA Online. You know, people are buying shark cards all the time, and it's basically funded this game. And you can see it. We don't get games like this. This is a once in a generation game, and it's 2 years away. So we have to be very careful and live till then. Somehow, if I swear, if an asteroid hits Earth, I'm going to be angry. But yeah, Logan, have you got anything else to say on GTA before I move on?
No, just I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm excited to see what all, like, like you said, mini games and other activities they let you do. Because I have a feeling this one's gonna go wild, and especially it being in Florida, I can only imagine like there's some wildlife stuff, or like maybe one of the things is actually pool cleaning, and that's why you have to deal with gators or something. Like I can imagine it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny. You know, actually, before we continue, I've seen multiple posts today of, oh, this is, kids shouldn't be playing this game, blah blah blah. You know, kids shouldn't be exposed to this game. Like, the game's rated 18 for a reason. Like, I don't know if, like, Logan, in the US, do you get ID'd for games?
Um, Generally, if they're doing their job, they're supposed to. If you don't look above a certain age, they'll ID you. But, if you've been to a place enough, they'll know you and they won't. But for the most part, if you go into a new place or you're new there and you buy a M-rated game, they're supposed to ID you. Because it used to be back in the day, kids could just buy whatever they wanted, and then it became an issue because Tommy was buying GTA San Andreas and or this, and then they changed everything. But yeah, and they also have a thing where, like, if a kid tries to buy one and they bring their mom or dad, they'll go, "Okay, do you know this is rated this, and it's rated this for drugs and alcohol, suggestive themes, blood and gore, like all this stuff." They'll read off the list and talk about it. So it should be abundantly apparent that this game is not for children. If people think it's for children, that's on them. But it's not the company's fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's blatantly for adults, and the truth is, most of the people that do play, like, most of the people that play this GTA, they're going to be in their, teens, 20s, or whatever. But I think, like, if a parent is doing their job and they don't, like, a parent, like, when I was playing GTA back in the day, my parents didn't care. I was playing GTA, I think because I knew it was a game and all that stuff, I was allowed. But, like, now it's more hyper realistic. But if a parent's doing the job and they think the kid can handle it, I don't see any problem with it. But in general, if a game is rated 18, maybe don't let your kid play it. Like, even if, like, if it's rated 18 and your kid's 16 or 17, let them have at it. But, like, you don't let a 5-year-old play something like that. Unfortunately, you get that with Call of Duty because we call them squeakers, and you can hear, like, these 5-year-olds play Call of Duty, and it's like, you shouldn't be playing this. Anyway, we'll move on. Last topic before we close out the show. The Game Awards. Normally we get told to temper our expectations every year. Some years Microsoft has a few announcements, and even though Microsoft in the past has said temper your expectations, they've had great announcements. Well, this year they've made an effort to tell us they have multiple big announcements. And Indiana Jones, look, I putting this out there, I 110% believe that Indiana Jones releases in 2024. It was on the leaked spreadsheet with all the releases, even though the pandemic had pushed things back a little bit. But Indiana Jones, I believe, will be out in 2024. I think it will get a release date at the Game Awards. I think it's going to be a summer title. And Microsoft, they clearly want people to watch this, because if you opened up the Xbox Game Pass app yesterday, there was an ad for the Game Awards saying, watch this. So it kind of looks like there's going to be some big drops. I know the big one people have been saying is, will Baldur's Gate 3 be in Game Pass? Honestly, I have no idea. I hope this stuff doesn't leak, but I think, if they're telling us all to watch the Jeff Keighley PlayStation show, they must have some cool stuff. Baldur's Gate 3, I think that's 50-50. It could be, it couldn't be. It had huge success. I haven't heard anyone from Larian Studios even remotely mention Game Pass. That could be a sign. I don't know. I'm getting the game either way. We're getting the release date for Baldur's Gate. I think, Logan, we could all agree Baldur's Gate's probably going to shadow drop that night.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty confident it's either gonna drop that night or the next day. Like I think it is ready to go. And as for Game Pass or not, I have a hunch it'll be in Game Pass. Like I think that'll be one of their big announcements.
Yeah, I think when it comes to them, like Microsoft, they want people to pay attention that night. So I think they're gonna have a few shadow drops. But I think like when it comes to Microsoft, like they have like short term and long term like roadmaps, which we've never had before. But there's a bunch of games that are still going to be, probably announced. Like Arcane's next game, it's probably Dishonored 3. They've been working on 2 games at the same time while Redfall was in development. So with Dishonored being their most popular game, I think we're probably going to see Dishonored 3 there. People keep bringing up the Gears of War collection. Look, I would love the Gears of War collection to be real, but I have not seen any proof at all outside of occasional person on Reddit saying, hey, guess what I heard? I don't take that as anything. Guess what I heard? That means nothing. But I hope. But I do think we'll see things like Indiana Jones. HellBlade 2 is being teased constantly. It was on that Las Vegas dome thing. I don't know what they call it. The dome.
The Sphere.
The Sphere. Wow, that's an original name. They could have came up with something more
Hey,
original. But the ad on the Sphere, it showed, Senua and stuff. So, like, and look, people want to see genuine gameplay, combat gameplay. I've seen enough of the facial features. It looks great. I've seen enough of the spear throwing. Looks amazing. I've seen enough of Senua walk around a puddle. Cool stuff, right? The HDR is going to be amazing, but we want to see on foot combat. I think we will get it. It's been a long time coming. Again, Ninja Theory was one of those developers that were held back by the whole pandemic because the offices were closed for a year and a half. I think this show is going to be big for Xbox, especially since I haven't heard a single person from Microsoft say temper your expectations. They're all pointing towards, hey gamers, watch it. What do you think, Logan? Because it looks like it's going to be a big night.
Yeah, I think they're gonna go guns blazing. I think they're gonna go all out, and they were widely ridiculed and mocked and clowned and laughed at last year for basically not showing up at the show. I mean, Phil was in the crowd, a few others, but there wasn't much of a presence besides that. It was super awkward, but understandably, they had their show the next month. It's just we didn't know that at the time. And then, the whole CMA thing on top of that just made it really awkward. But this year, the vibes are cloud nine. Everything's great. I fully expect them to go all out. I think, well, since it's out there now, I reckon arcane title of some sort will be there. Like, I'm not sure what I think they'll do. Like, part of me thinks it's Dishonored 3, and then a little bit of me thinks it could be Deathloop 2. I would love Prey 2, honestly, but I'm not sure it has enough support internally for it to get going. But I think they will be there. I would write it in stone that Hellblade 2 is going to be there. And a 360 thing would make me really happy, but I'm not convinced that it'll be there. But it would sure make me really happy if it was.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky night because Microsoft, like again, we know games coming in 2024. We know games coming beyond. But I think, like, look, we are so used to new announcements now. We want more, and uh, I think that Xbox gamers are in a position where we already have this stuff to look forward to. But Microsoft has so many studios right now making games. A lot of those studios consist of multiple teams making multiple games. Like they could announce like upwards of like I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out there. 6 games and maybe a few shadow drops because they have so much in development. Like I put it like this: the big leak that happened a few months ago for Bethesda, that was just Bethesda games, not Xbox Game Studios games, and we still haven't seen most of Xbox Game Studios stuff. And some of their studios have opened up new offices. I know there's another In Exile office. I think the State of Decay development team now has a new studio. So the sky's the limit again, but I think we're going to see some big stuff. And I think, Hellblade, honestly, for some reason, I think we're going to see a Fallout game teased. They have the studios for it. In Exile, they clearly have the chops for it. You have Obsidian. They can clearly make like 5 games at the same time. And honestly, I don't think Microsoft wants to go an entire generation without a new Fallout game. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, for a new Fallout game, I totally think it makes sense. To me, I'm not sure if the Game Awards is where they'd announce it, or if they would maybe just have like an Xbox Wire big, post closer to the series starting on April 12th, I believe, on Amazon. So to me, I think they might hold it back a little bit till then. But if they had a Fallout announcement at the show, it wouldn't be shocking, and I would certainly be down for that. Whether it's Fallout 3 Remake, Remaster, or a Fallout New Vegas Remake, Remaster, or Fallout New Vegas 2, or Fallout 5, Fallout Tactics, something. Anything Fallout would make me happy. Or Oblivion, for that matter, the Oblivion remake that's floating around.
Before you go, you mentioned that, and I actually forgot about it. The Fallout 3 remaster. That's been rumored for ages, and it was even listed in Microsoft's documents. If you're gonna launch a Fallout 3 remaster, by the way, it's been listed as remake and remaster. I don't care. I'm gonna play it. You would launch that around the time as the brand new Amazon series. So, like, look, I think Microsoft are gonna have another developer direct in January, like they did last year. It worked really well for them. They had the Hi-Fi Rush Shadow drop, but it kind of makes sense for Microsoft to even tease or show the Fallout 3 remaster. So I think now that you mentioned that, they could actually bring that up. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting day for fans. I think that, like, look, the whole Xbox gamers saying wait till E3 thing was a byproduct of gamers having to wait till E3 because Microsoft only made their announcements at E3. Whereas now,
There's also a coping mechanism.
yeah, it was a coping mechanism. But like back then, like Microsoft only made announcements at E3, and it was a byproduct of that. Microsoft would always save all their announcements for E3. They'd say, "Hey, this is our holiday lineup." But now, like I've said in the past, Microsoft have to announce games or release games throughout the entire year because of Game Pass. So they can literally announce games throughout the entire year. Phil's even said they have to announce games more often throughout the year and have more events. So wait till E3 is no longer a thing for Xbox fans. You have to. It's more like, which game am I getting next? Because there's so many coming. By the way, that's what I love about making Xbox content now. There's so much to talk about. Because, like, look, not to make fun of, like, PlayStation, but I always hear PlayStation content creators talk about a mythical secret showcase. Do you know what that reminds me of? Xbox 9 years ago. We didn't know what was coming. We didn't know what was in development. Microsoft had, like, 5 studios making games. They didn't even own Gears at that point. And the state of Xbox was unsure. But now we know so many games in development, multiple studios making multiple games, and wait till E3 isn't a thing. and that's beautiful. you know, that isn't a meme anymore. People can push. All we do here is wait till next showcase. Hopefully things get better for them, but either way, exciting time for gamers ahead. Anyway, everyone in chat's been amazing. Been a good week. We have some. The thing is, we have to save some topics for next week, and we're obviously going to be talking about the Game Awards stuff. Logan, have you got anything else to say before we close out the show?
One last thing, it kind of doubles back to Phil's interview with Jez and Windows Central, but I thought it was worth highlighting was his thing about paraphrasing, but he doesn't tease things just to troll people. Like if he wears a shirt of something, or he talks about Hexen, or he name drops a banjo, or other stuff, that means he's aware of the interest and desire for it, and they have some plans in place or formulating some stuff in place to make these things happen. They might not happen in the timetable we want, as in end of the year or within a year or two, but things are in motion, and he's not just poking at our feelings and pouring salt in the wound because he's sadistic or something. He's like, if he brings up and name drops something, there is a very good reason why, and that made me very happy.
Yeah, if he does come out on stage at the Game Awards and he's wearing a StarCraft t-shirt, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, someone's been paying attention. I'm gonna IP beg a third-person shooter set in StarCraft until I get one. Like, it's happening. But yeah, the t-shirt thing, like, everyone reads in everything he does. Is there a picture of a shelf in the background? We're gonna analyze it. What's on his t-shirt? So that's what's coming in the future. It is a thing now. But yeah, cool stuff ahead. Again, we're going to be talking about all this stuff next week. It's going to be interesting to see what we're going to be talking about next week, because there's several games coming to be announced. Who knows? Anyway, everyone in chat's been amazing. Once again, no trolls. Best chat on YouTube. We'll be back at the same time next week. My last video, 10 biggest games, coming out in December. YouTube, for some reason, didn't push this month's video. So if you want to check that out, it's in the link down below. The description also has our social media platforms like Twitter. I'm not calling it X. Again, everyone on Twitter's been the Twitter community on Xbox is great in general. But yeah, back next week. I should have a new video out at some point next week. It'll probably be after the Game Awards, because it's a big one. But if you like single player games and you like Xbox, you're gonna like this video. Anyway, we'll be back next week. We are out, everyone. Peace.